Yeah. In Samoa's halls, a tempest brews. Fast party splits, old wounds anew. A petition sting, a silent plea. Concerns arise, need secrecy. Fear me instead, a power shift. Loudly ascends a bitter rift. 20 MPs, a loyal band. Remove their leader across the land. Fragile hold, stability wanes, a story told of factions clashing, ambitions fire as HRPP waits their chance to aspire. New minister sworn, a fragile peace, while whispers rise of discontent's release. The future uncertain, a path unclear, a nation divided, gripped by fear. Will unity mend the broken ties, or will the nation face a new demise? An early election, a looming threat, as Samoa's fate hangs uncertain yet.
All right, so are you ready for some major political drama? We are diving deep into Samoa today, where the ruling Fast Party is, well, let's just say things are getting messy. Our mission today is to untangle this power struggle that's happening within the Fast Party and try to figure out what it means for Samoa's future. We've been poring over news articles, political commentary, even checking out the social media buzz, and it all points to some serious internal conflict brewing. So remember, in 2021, when the Fast Party came to power, led by Prime Minister Fiame Naomi Mataafa, it was a huge deal. They ended like decades of rule by the Human Rights Protection Party. But now we've got cabinet firings, we've got a mysterious petition going around, we've got a party meeting that the prime minister skipped out on. Sounds kind of like a political thriller, right?
Yeah, it does sound a little dramatic.
So let's rewind to the beginning. Back to those initial cabinet firings. Remember when 4 ministers were let go? Well, it turns out that was just the start. Prime Minister Mataafa ended up dismissing 3 more ministers. Mipa Anarosa from the Ministry of Women, Community and Social Development, Toi Puyo from Communications and Information Technology, and Leo Delisi from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Labor. That's a lot of ministers.
Yeah, and from pretty key areas, too. Removing ministers from those kinds of positions suggests that this goes beyond just like a simple disagreement, you know? It could signal like a fundamental clash within the Fast Party, maybe about their vision or their strategy going forward.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And then to make things even more interesting, those ousted ministers, they sent a petition to the prime minister outlining their grievances. But here's the catch, the details of that petition. Top secret. No one knows what it says. What do you think about that? Is this some kind of strategic move to keep their options open? Or is there something else going on?
That secrecy is definitely interesting. It makes you wonder what each side might be trying to achieve by keeping things so quiet. One possibility is that the ousted ministers, they want to keep some leverage, you know, by not revealing everything just yet.
Kind of like they're playing a game of political poker.
Exactly. They might be hoping to negotiate a better outcome for themselves if they hold back some information. On the other hand, the prime minister might be choosing to stay silent to kind of control the narrative and avoid things escalating further.
Okay, so we got secret petitions. And then right after that, a Fast Party meeting happens. But guess who wasn't there? The prime minister and the entire remaining cabinet. A whole faction just skipped it. 18 MPs did attend the meeting, though, which seems like a pretty strong sign that something big is happening. Could this be the start of like a coordinated attempt to challenge the prime minister's authority?
It's definitely possible. This meeting and the petition, they raise some serious concerns about growing dissent within the Fast Party. And it gets even more intense because they've already scheduled a follow-up meeting to discuss what they call critical matters pertaining to the party.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. We learned from Telene and the Samoa Observer that Lauli Luatia Schmidt, the Fast Party chairman, he made a big announcement. He said that Prime Minister Fiame and 5 cabinet ministers are officially out of the party.
Wow, that's a huge move. Especially with Parliament set to reconvene soon, we could be about to see a major shift in Samoan politics.
This isn't just some political drama happening on a small island, you know. This kind of upheaval has real consequences. What happens in Samoan politics has a direct impact on the lives of the people who live there. So let's talk about some of the potential fallout from all of this. This power struggle could affect everything, from economic development to social programs, even Samoa's relationships on the international stage. It seems like Schmidt moved pretty quickly to consolidate power after that announcement. The Fast Party appointed a whole new slate of executives, with Schmidt as both leader and chairman. And that's not all. They also unveiled a brand new lineup of cabinet ministers. Faliom Mavaiga Titimia Tafua is now in charge of the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Labor. Lagaya Tiatoa Tufuga takes over the Ministry of Women, Community, and Social Development. The Ministry of Communications, Information, and Technology is now under Malosiasi Popomai, and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries is being run by Nuava Malolo Ethi. It's a complete overhaul.
It really is. And it's important to remember that Samoa has a history of political volatility, you know. We've seen similar power struggles play out in other Pacific Island nations like Fiji and Vanuatu. And sometimes those internal divisions have led to periods of instability and even constitutional crises.
This is a critical moment, and we're only just starting to understand what it all means. So before we dive into the potential consequences of this power struggle and how it could affect Samoa's future, what do you think is particularly significant about this situation so far? Are you surprised by how quickly things escalated?
Yeah, I'm surprised, but then again, not really. It seems like
What do you mean?
what strikes me is how this situation in Samoa, it kind of reflects a broader trend we're seeing in Pacific Island politics. You know, many of these island nations gained independence relatively recently, and they're still figuring out how to establish stable political systems.
That makes sense. If a country's political foundations aren't solid yet, it seems like they might be more vulnerable to these kinds of internal power struggles.
Exactly. And these power struggles are often fueled by a lot of different factors: personal ambitions, ideological differences, competition for limited resources. It's like a recipe for instability.
It sounds like Samoa is facing some pretty serious challenges then. What do you think are some of the potential long-term consequences of this political shakeup?
Well, one of the most immediate concerns is the potential impact on Samoa's economy. Political instability can make it really hard to attract foreign investment. Businesses don't like to put money into countries where the political landscape is unpredictable and volatile.
Yeah, I can see why investors would be hesitant. Who wants to invest in a country where the government might be on the verge of collapsing?
Right. And that lack of investment can have a domino effect on the whole economy, leading to job losses, a decline in economic growth, and a lower standard of living overall.
So it's a domino effect that could really hurt the people of Samoa.
Absolutely. And then there's the potential impact on social programs, too. If the government is too busy with that's a good analogy. And beyond just reputation, there's also the potential impact on foreign aid. Donor countries often reconsider their aid commitments when a country experiences political instability. They want to make sure that their money is being used effectively and that they're not contributing to more chaos.
So this isn't just about who's in charge in Samoa. This political shakeup could have consequences for all different aspects of Samoan society. It could affect their economy, their social programs, their relationships with the rest of the world.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that political events, even those happening on islands that seem far away, can have big consequences.
Okay, so we talked about the potential fallout, but I'm also curious about the human side of this story. These aren't just abstract political events. They involve real people whose lives and careers are being affected by this power struggle. What happens to the ministers who are ousted? Where do they go from here?
It's a tough spot for them, you know? Their political careers are kind of up in the air, and they're facing a lot of uncertainty. Some of them might try to regroup and challenge the new leadership from within the Fast Party.
Do you think they have a chance of regaining influence within the party? I mean, after such a dramatic shakeup?
It's hard to say for sure. It depends on a few things, like how much support they still have from other party members, and if they can clearly explain their issues and offer a real alternative.
So it sounds like an uphill battle.
Yeah, it won't be easy. Some of them might decide to join different political groups, or maybe even form a whole new party. It really comes down to what they think is best for their political future.
What about the civil servants who work in those ministries? I imagine there's a lot of uncertainty for them, too.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're often the ones who get overlooked. They work hard to implement policies and provide important services, but their jobs can be really affected by political changes and new leadership.
It's a reminder that decisions made at the top can have a big impact on the people who are furthest from power.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the Samoan people either, the voters who put their trust in the Fast Party. to bring about change. They might be feeling confused, disillusioned, even betrayed by all this infighting.
Yeah, I bet it's hard to watch the party you supported fall apart like this. It makes you wonder if those promises of change were ever real, or if this was all just about political maneuvering.
Absolutely. It can erode people's trust in the whole political system, leading to apathy and people not wanting to participate. That's why it's so important for leaders to be transparent, accountable, and to practice good governance. When those things are missing, it's the people who end up suffering the most.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for Samoa after this political earthquake?
Now, it's impossible to know for sure, but we can think about some possible scenarios. One possibility is that the Fast Party, despite this whole mess, manages to work out their differences and present a united front.
Do you really think that's possible after such a big split?
It would take a lot of work to rebuild trust and find common ground, but maybe through dialogue and compromise, they could find a way forward that addresses everyone's concerns and allows them to keep governing effectively.
It sounds like a long shot, but not impossible. What are some other possible scenarios?
Another possibility is that this rift is just too big to fix, and the Fast Party completely falls apart. This could lead to a period of instability, and maybe even trigger early elections.
That would definitely complicate things even further.
Yeah, and of course we can't forget about the opposition party, the Human Rights Protection Party. They're definitely watching all of this closely, and they probably see it as a chance to take back power.
So the HRPP might be waiting in the shadows, ready to jump in if the Fast Party implodes. It's like a high-stakes game of chess, and we're all waiting to see what the next move will be.
Exactly. It's a really unpredictable situation, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. It's a reminder that even in these beautiful island nations, politics can be just as complicated and messy as anywhere else.
It's a reminder that politics really affects people's lives, no matter where they live.
And it also shows how important it is to stay informed, to ask questions, and to hold our leaders accountable.
Well said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Samoan politics. It's been quite a ride, and it seems like the story is far from over. We'll definitely keep following this situation, and we encourage you to do the same. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for the ministers who are removed. Their political careers are kind of in limbo, and they're facing an uncertain future. Some of them might try to, regroup and challenge the new leadership from within the Fast Party.
Do you think they have a chance at regaining influence in the party after such a dramatic shakeup?
It's hard to say, really. It depends on a few things, like how much support they still have among the party members and whether they can effectively explain their grievances and offer a viable alternative path forward.
So it sounds like an uphill battle?
It definitely won't be easy. Some might choose to align themselves with different political factions, or maybe even form a new party altogether. It really depends on their individual calculations and how they see their political futures.
And what about the civil servants who worked in those ministries? There must be a lot of uncertainty and anxiety for them as well.
You're right to think about them. They're often the unsung heroes of government, They work diligently to implement policies and provide essential services, but their livelihoods can be significantly impacted by these kinds of political shifts and changes in leadership.
It's a reminder that political decisions made at the top can have these cascading effects, reaching those who are often furthest from the centers of power.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about the Samoan people themselves, the voters who place their trust in the Fast Party to bring about change and reform. They might be feeling confused, disillusioned, even betrayed by this whole power struggle.
It must be hard to watch the party you supported fracture like this. It raises questions about whether those promises of change were ever genuine, or if this was all just about political maneuvering and personal ambition.
Absolutely. It can erode public trust in the political system as a whole, leading to apathy and disengagement. That's why it's so crucial for political leaders to prioritize things like transparency, accountability, and good governance. When those principles are weakened, it's the people who ultimately suffer the most.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for Samoa after this political earthquake?
Well, it's impossible to predict the future with certainty. But we can consider a few possible scenarios. One possibility is that the Fast Party, despite this shakeup, manages to reconcile their differences and, present a united front.
Is that really a realistic outcome after such a dramatic split?
It would require a significant effort to rebuild trust and find common ground. But perhaps through dialogue and compromise, they could forge a path forward that addresses the concerns of both sides and allows them to continue governing effectively.
Sounds like a long shot, but not entirely impossible. What are some of the other potential scenarios?
Another possibility is that this internal rift proves to be too deep to mend, and it leads to a complete fracture of the Fast Party. This could result in a period of prolonged political instability, potentially even triggering early elections.
That would definitely add another layer of complexity to an already turbulent situation.
Indeed. And of course, we can't overlook the potential role of the opposition party, the Human Rights Protection Party. They're undoubtedly watching these developments very closely, sensing an opportunity to capitalize on the chaos and maybe even stage a comeback.
So the HRPP might be waiting in the wings, ready to seize the moment if the Fast Party implodes. It's like a high-stakes political chess match, and we're all watching to see how the pieces will fall.
Precisely. It's a dynamic and unpredictable situation, and it will be fascinating to see how it all unfolds in the coming weeks and months. It's a reminder that even in these seemingly idyllic island nations, policies can be just as complex and turbulent as anywhere else in the world.
It's a reminder that politics has a real impact on people's lives, no matter where they live.
Absolutely. And it also highlights the importance of staying informed and engaged, asking critical questions, and holding our leaders accountable.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the heart of Samoan politics. It's been a wild ride, and it seems like the story is far from over. We'll continue to follow this situation closely, and we encourage you to do the same. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.